I'm Dan Rosenberg,
And I'm TJ.
and we'd like to welcome you to 11 Minutes with Octane 11, a B2B marketing mini podcast where we talk with experts in B2B marketing about real life challenges and solutions in this complicated space in just 11 minutes. Because no one has time to listen to long form podcasts, least of all B2B marketers who are using more tools than ever and are under more pressure than ever to deliver breakthrough messaging and business impact. Today, we're extremely excited to be talking with Brandon Rhoten, an expert in B2B marketing who's been on both sides of the B2B and B2C marketing continuum. He built out Wendy's digital and social presence. He worked at Papa John's and Potbelly, which is one of my personal favorites. And he did time at Merkle too, coming in from the Gyro acquisition. He's currently CMO at GroundTruth, a leader in location-based marketing. And he's also a client of Octane 11. So, of course, we're super excited about that. But we don't have a lot of time, so let's just jump right in. So first, Brandon, please tell us a little bit about that journey from B2B to B2C and back to B2B and what you're working on these days.
Yeah, well, thanks for having me. Started on the agency side, B2B marketing. That's where I sort of learned the ropes of how to do this stuff. And then was grabbed to build Wendy's digital social. That led to me running all consumer facing media and creative and digital and social there. Pulled over to Papa John's as CMO, pulled over to Potbelly as CMO. And then I decided to sort of semi-retire, but got bored within like weeks and ended up at GroundTruth. And the reason I'm at GroundTruth is through that kind of whole path, spending, $7, $8, $9 billion in media, it was really hard to close the bottom of the funnel in a lot of these big B2C companies. And on the B2B side, it was even harder to connect the dots sometimes with what the actual effect of the marketing was. So the company I'm at now, GroundTruth, the goal is to help people close that loop of media. So we know who you should target. We know how to actually deliver an ad that's going to be effective. And at the end of the day, measure whether they actually showed up to your retail location. And I desperately needed that in my previous gig. So I'm glad to be part of the solution now.
Love that.
What would you say are the biggest challenges you've seen in B2B marketing and go-to-market motion overall?
Yeah, I think the biggest thing fundamentally is creative that breaks through and actual work that breaks through. It's really easy to create the old school features benefits sort of discussion, what feels like a PowerPoint that you squeeze into an ad, and that stuff just doesn't resonate with anyone. So I think it's true on the B2C side, and I think it's also true on the B2B side. So people on B2B sometimes forget, their marketers, that you need good messaging, good creative, good media to actually drive a result. So I think that's the biggest stumbling block in B2B.
Yeah.
Definitely agree with that. What about on the tools, tactics, vendors, or campaign side? What are the best that you've seen?
Yeah, we'll start with campaigns because there's so much good work in the world that you love being jealous of the good stuff out there. I love the Spotify Wrapped for advertisers campaigns. Consumers get the regular Wrapped, but if you're a media buyer, you get a version that's tailored to you based on the audiences that you should be trying to reach with your marketing. I think that's genius. Solidifies their positioning. It's unique. It's interesting. It's useful. It's genuinely useful. So I love the Spotify Wrapped campaign. I love the new stuff from Pinterest that's coming out right now. Pinterest is trying to differentiate in a really crowded social market, and they're actually focusing on performance, but they're not losing the point of differentiation in their communication. So they're saying Pinterest is a different experience for users, it's a different experience for marketers, but you can still get to a tangible result at the end of the day. So I'd point to Spotify and Pinterest as great examples of B2B marketing right now. As far as tools goes, we love Octane 11. We use LinkedIn's tools. We use HubSpot's tools. We use Salesforce. On the B2B side, especially, the sales cycles are long. The number of touch points are many. The coordination between sales and marketing and product is on hyper mode versus B2C. So having the right tools, you can actually connect the dots on who to target and what actually works is supremely important. So we use a lot of tools, and without them, it'd be really hard to do our job.
Yeah, no, 100%. That rings true to us, of course. Glad to hear we're in the mix on the top of the charts list. What would you say is something that everyone gets wrong in B2B marketing?
I think they forget that people are people. They think that media buyers or anybody in the B2B space that's actually purchasing on behalf of a company is only worried about function versus actually trying to create a connection with people that means something deeper. All the research says that emotion is what really drives the decisions. And now there's a bit more function in B2B, I'd argue, than in some B2C. But at the end of the day, people are still people. So you forget that you need compelling creative. You forget that you need to actually speak to something that's deeper versus just checking a box. An example I'd point to in our world is we try to celebrate the idea that marketing deserves more investment. And that's what you're striving for as a media buyer, as a marketer. But at the end of the day, you need to show an actual result in the P&L and connect that back to your marketing spend as an organization in order for marketing to have a real seat at the table in an organization. So I think people, B2B marketers especially, forget that they're advertising to people. They think they're advertising to these entities that are robots, and it's just not true, and it doesn't really work.
I definitely agree with that. If you had one wish for a tool or capability for B2B marketers, what would it be?
One wish, I would say integrate all the touch points perfectly. And Octane 11 does a really good job of integrating touch points. The number of tools you use in B2B marketing is so vast that actually like deduplicating, finding which one is actually the source of truth, finding the ability to integrate all those tools effectively is challenging, especially when you have a big sales organization that's using Salesforce, you have a marketing organization that's using Salesforce and tools like Octane 11 and HubSpot and the native tools and social platforms that you're utilizing, bringing it all together in a cohesive picture so you can tell a clear story. I don't want to make it completely turnkey because frankly, then it'd be too easy, but at the end of the day, I want it a little easier to connect all the dots.
Yeah, for sure. What would you say is one win that you've had in B2B marketing or in life?
Yeah. So, in life, I got some awesome kids, so I'll give that, and a wife that's stuck by me for over 20 years, which is pretty impressive, I think. So, so those are good wins on the life side. On the marketing side, I'm very proud of the work that Wendy's did and ultimately grew that brand from traffic loss to growth for over 13 years. So that was amazing. I love the fact that at Papa John's, we were able to kind of right the ship there, and that led to a lot of growth. And same thing at Potbelly, where traffic is king in restaurants. And that work I'm very proud of. I'm very proud of those teams and the work they continue to do. On the GroundTruth side, we've begun winning over the last year and a half, some huge brands and some brands that are growing like a weed because they want to know that their media is actually working, especially at the bottom of the funnel. Dave's Hot Chicken is one of the fastest growing restaurants there is. And they trust us with their bottom of the funnel to drive conversion. They've got some amazing awareness creative, and they need to connect the dots. They need to get to real business results, and they're able to do that with us. We've got some of the biggest brands in the world that trust us now, and more every day, because they need to show the efficacy of their marketing, especially in the performance side. That's the point of performance marketing. So very proud of the team and the wins we've gotten lately that are starting to show that we're a viable way to close the loop for your sales.
Those sound great. Another question that we'd like to ask in the spirit of sharing actionable ideas is there a particular framework that you like for decision making or time management or measurement or whatever that you'd want to share with the group? One of them that I heard recently that I really liked as an example is a 1-3-1 framework that Jason Schumann at Primary Ventures described in a LinkedIn post, where like as a chief of staff, what you want to bring to your chief is like, what's one problem, what's 3 solutions potentially, and then what's one choice. So like the 1-3-1. So you kind of lay it out there, and that's a great framework. I like that one. So is there a framework in that style that you like?
Yeah, well, I really like that framework. That's an excellent way to think about simplifying sort of the decisions in front of you. And that can get really hard, especially in marketing, where you could do a million things to try to solve a problem. Rather than a framework, I would just say a bit of a process that I always go through that has served me really well over my career. The first thing that I always try to do is figure out what the problem is that's causing the symptom in the business. And that may sound really simple, but the truth is people jump straight to tactics all the time. They say, we need a campaign, or we need a new media program, we need a new agency, or we need a new whatever, rather than actually like do a little bit of homework and figure out what the core problem is that's causing the symptom of lack of traffic, lack of sales, lack of check growth, lack of whatever the outcome is that's negatively impacting your business. So I like to get very specific to say, okay, we have an awareness problem, or we have a PR issue that we need to solve for, or we have an issue in our process that we're not actually connecting the dots, so we don't even know what's working. I start always with a simple problem that then we align all resources around that problem to give it a serious go to see if you can solve the problem. And then once we solve the problem, if the thing we have to do is marketing and advertising, we never start with tactics. We always start with a big idea. And that's an old agency thing that I think has been forgotten from a lot, where they instead come in and say, hey, you got to be on TikTok or whatever the thing is that is hot at the moment. Instead, you actually start with a big idea, and then you let the mediums and the creative and the execution flow from that idea. Because fundamentally, it's really hard to understand the efficacy of your message media creative if it all doesn't come from one singular spot. And it's super hard to create brand consistency if it doesn't all come from one idea. So I always start with the problem, be very clear about the problem. And if the solution looks like advertising or traditional marketing, digital marketing, whatever, you start with a big idea. And I think if you isolate your problem, isolate your big idea, all your decisions get much easier because you have filters to apply to every decision, rather than just, hey, let's try this today, and then you abandon it in 24 hours and try another thing, which is super frustrating and really hard to actually gain any momentum.
That's great. Those are great. I feel like that's like a 1-2 punch. So I love that kind of framework. Well, that's all the time we have for today. 11 minutes goes by super fast. I mean, we jammed in a lot, and I learned a lot. I hope listeners did too. Just a quick recap. We talked about the importance of creative that breaks through. You just can't squeeze a PowerPoint into an ad. I love that phrase. So you got to like really streamline. A little shout out for Spotify Wrapped, the media buyer version, which I wasn't aware of, but that sounds awesome. And then Pinterest with the focus on differentiation. Shout out for some of the best tools, Octane 11 that were in there, but LinkedIn, HubSpot, just the importance of remembering that people are people, create the connection, emotion drives decisions, but also that you have to show results for marketing to have a seat at the table. So true. The wish for tools that would integrate all your other tools. I guess one reign to rule them all. It's something that we're definitely working on, creating that cohesive picture. A little shout out for the kids and the wife. I love that as a personal win, but also the work you did at Wendy's and Papa John's and Potbelly and driving traffic. But also some of the great wins at GroundTruth, Dave's Hot Chicken. I love that, being able to get the results and connect the dots to it. And then the framework that I definitely want to use. Start with the problem, the diagnosis. Don't just jump into tactics. And then also, what's the big idea? Start with that. So that's a lot of stuff. That was almost 11 minutes on a recap. So really appreciate you joining. Really great stuff. So thanks again for carving out the time.
Thank you, and keep up the good work, guys.
Yeah, thank you. We've got a great lineup of more B2B marketing experts on deck. So check out more episodes at octane11.com or wherever you get your podcasts. And thanks for listening.
Thank you.